Only Sin Deep is a tale of beauty and greed. Directed by Howard Deutch, written by Fred Decker, and shot by Richard Bowen. Based on a story that appeared in The Haunt of Fear number 24. With 35 years separating the TV show from the comic, the filmmakers had more freedom to expand upon a few implications from the book.
I'm gonna say this once. You touch me again, I'll shoot your dick off.
The comic begins with Lorna Vanson, a young woman whose beauty drives every man wild. She moves through the night, stealing valuables from the men she leaves drunk in the alley. The show doesn't mess around. Here, she's a hooker named Sylvia Vane. How's that for a pun? She's played by Marty McFly's mother herself, Leah Thompson. Sylvia roams the streets with her fellow lady of the night, Raven, and takes every chance she gets to look at herself in the mirror.
If I had $1 for every time you stood in the mirror admiring your face, I could get off these streets and retire to the Bahamas.
Yeah, but this face is my meal ticket, honey.
After being accosted by Raven's pimp, she robs him and shoots him dead in the struggle. Sylvia takes her loot to a local pawn shop, where the pawnbroker refuses to buy her stolen goods. We also get some very quick, very subtle foreshadowing.
You bastard, you son!
Instead of turning Sylvia away, he offers to buy her beauty from her for $10,000. She sees the offer as foolish, since all she has to do is allow him to make a mold of her face.
Not your face, your beauty.
It's easy money, and if she ends up wanting her beauty back, she has 4 months to redeem it at a 12% increase of cost. The pawnbroker in the comic is much older and offers to purchase Lorna's beauty for only $1,000 and gives her a full year to get it back. He buys the beauty of different women as nothing more than a hobby. His screen counterpart, however, uses the beauty he acquires to restore his deceased wife to her former self, giving him a motivation. With more money than she's ever had in her life, our protagonist is ready to hunt her ultimate prey. But first, a full makeover and some new clothes, complete with a 1980s style montage in the show. Hey, there were still 6 months left in the 80s when this aired. Dressed to kill, Lorna/Sylvia attends an upscale party, packed with the city's richest. And boy does she turn a few heads. Just look at this guy in the comic. This isn't even a thought bubble. He's actually proclaiming this for all the world to hear. The show, however, handles the gawkers in a much more subtle manner. Both versions of her catch the attention of Ronnie, last name Price in the TV show. Yeah, a rich man with the last name Price. He's played by Brett Cullen, who recently portrayed Thomas Wayne in Joker. Ronald falls for her instantly, and she plays hard to get, but we all know she gets what she wants. Fast forward 4 months in the show and a year in the comic. The two have a life together, complete with fancy jewelry and clothes. But all is not well, as she notices some wrinkles forming on her face, and they're getting worse by the day. She uses whatever makeup she can to hide her deformity from Ronald. Lucky for her, he's leaving for a few days on business. She sees the best skincare specialist in the city, and to her horror, is informed her skin is aging rapidly, and there is no cure. In her shock, she remembers the pawnbroker and finds her redemption ticket. She storms into the shop, demanding her beauty back. But it's too late. Her ticket has expired by 1 day. The broker names his price for selling her beauty back, $100,000. She returns to Ronnie's home and stages a burglary, while taking every piece of jewelry he's gifted to her. In the comic, she also has to get past the servants, hiding her aged face with a veil. Ronald returns home early, catching her stealing everything. Not recognizing his once beautiful beloved, he calls the police. Lorna in the comic beats him to death with a brass statue, and Sylvia in the show shoots him dead. Being rich just isn't working out for this actor. She returns to the pawn shop in the morning, with the jewels more than enough to equal $100,000. The broker agrees to return her beauty, if that's what she still really wants. I love how the newspaper actually calls her a gold digger. The broker leaves Sylvia in the back as he speaks to a police officer friend of his. She listens.
She stole every scrap of jewelry the guy bought for her. Then she offs the guy, leaves the murder weapon on the floor.
Sylvia takes her beauty back, only to have Raven bump into her on the street. She drops the mold, and it shatters to pieces, leaving her as an old woman forever. In the comic, the pawn shop is closed. As Lorna waits until morning, she spots a newsstand, and her once beautiful face is on the front page, wanted for the murder of her husband, as reported by the servants. She knows she can never restore her former beauty, or else she'd be tried for murder. In the past, I thought this episode was just okay, but reading the story's campy comic book roots has really increased my admiration for what Decker and Deutch have brought to the screen. Despite the punny names of the characters, it really is a much more serious take on the source material. Plus, the addition of the pawnbroker's wife prevents him from being a two-dimensional comic book villain. But even with my newfound appreciation for the TV episode, I think I prefer the comics version just a little more. I find having Lorna choose to stay in her aged state in order to avoid capture as the more haunting ending. This is the first story I've covered here that doesn't end with the death or implied death of the main character, giving us something a little different to think about beneath the surface value. Just going to show us that the beauty of a horror short isn't always only skin deep.